Alright, so we're going to get started in Chapter 11, looking at the symmetrical feature options, mirror, patterns, and things like that. They're going to make our drawing time just a little bit quicker when we're looking at parts that have symmetrical features associated with them. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to just run through the way the book goes over this problem, and then I'll show you a couple little tips at the end that things that I do just a little bit different. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and click on all of the work planes, right click and change the visibility and have those on, and I'm going to create my first sketch on the Y plane. So I'm just going to create a new sketch on that particular plane and get started. So the very first thing I want to do is to use this project geometry. This is just setting this up just a little bit different in how you've used project geometry. What we're going to be doing now is clicking on this so we can use the geometry that we're getting ready to sketch and use what's called a linear dimension, or I'm sorry, a linear diameter that's going to allow us to place the dimensions and keep with the whole diameter and not just using the radius. So what I'm going to do now is click on the x-axis, which is our horizontal, and also our y-axis, which is vertical. So I've got that set up, and now we're going to start just drawing a basic sketch of that geometry that is there. I'm just going to sketch that out. Oh, I should have made that even, but I'll go back and fix that. Alright, so I'm just kind of sketching this out here, and I can go back now and apply the dimensions. So when I apply these dimensions, we got to really think of in terms of what we're getting ready to do. We're getting ready to take half of this feature here and revolve it around the y-axis to create a 360-degree profile of this geometry right here. The second step to this is going to mirror. We're going to mirror that around this axis right here, so I'm going to bring that back over. So I should have picked this line right here when I was dimensioning. I should have put that at 0. And this line up here also needs to be horizontal, so I should click on that and make that horizontal for this part. So I'm going to now start applying some of the dimensions. When I apply the dimensions, I'm going to be using the x-axis as the center point of this part. So when I click on dimension, I am going to want to right click when I'm done selecting. I want to right click at this point. So I pick this line here and then pick this line, and then the third thing I'm going to do is right click in order to get this pop up. So what I want to do is select linear diameter, and the linear diameter should not have done that. Let me go back and try that one more time. I'm going to pick the axis first, that point, and that right click linear diameter. There we go. And I'm going to type in 4. That is, all right, click on it there. Let me drop that there and then type in 4 for the diameter. And I'm just going to use the dimensions that are given to me in the textbook on page 11-9. Just want to also make sure you know this place, this point right here, the horizontal line and the distance between the x-axis, this is acting as the hole that is in the part. So this dimension does need to be open. This x-axis is going to be the point in which we're revolving this profile around. So make sure that when you place this dimension, that we're placing the dimension as a linear diameter, and we have this set up as 0.75. So 0.75 is the diameter. So if you went back and measured this, the distance now between this line here and the axis should be 0.375, and that is what it is. So we're using, like I said, the linear diameter command. this should help you with your values and keeping straight with the diameters. Sometimes people get a little confused on this and they actually enter the diameter as the radius, and then you end up with a part that is twice as big as it should be. So I'm going to go back now and just work through placing these dimensions on all of the other points, and I'm going to start with my axis first and then the point. Right click and then place the dimension. Alright, so I now have all of the dimensions that I need in order to revolve this part. So I'm going to finish the sketch, and this is going to be the first time that you've ever used the revolve command. So what we're going to be doing here is picking the profile and then specifying the axis in which we want to revolve it. So I'm going to click on revolve, and because I only have one profile there available, that is going to automatically select. So we're looking at, here is the profile. The second thing it's asking for right now is for us to select the axis, and we're going to be using the x-axis. You can select that here, or you can select it over in your model browser. So when I click on the axis, you'll see this is automatically doing 360 degrees. If you don't want 360 degrees, you can modify that. You can see here the direction in which it's being rotated. So these are all things that you should be kind of familiar with looking at now, the directions for this revolve. So if it were less than 360, we may need to make a choice which way we wanted that to revolve. So I'm going to just kind of turn this not that way. I wanted to return it to the side just a little bit so you can see what we've got here. And that is going to revolve. So we've got the start of this part here, and now we're going to look at moving on to the mirror feature. So I would say probably the hardest thing about the mirror feature is actually finding where that mirror feature command is located. So we're under the 3D model, and if you look all the way over to the right under pattern, here is your mirror feature. So that is probably the most difficult thing for the whole entire command, is to be able to actually find that. But once you've used it one or two times, you won't forget the impact that has. So it saves you a lot of time for drawing, and it doesn't have to be just a part that's round shaped like this. This can be any time that you have a part that's symmetrical, and you can find that it's a lot easier just to mirror it, draw half of it or a quarter of it, and use the mirror. So what we're going to do is pick on the mirror, and I'm going to actually pick on the feature. So the feature that's being mirrored is this entire part itself. Okay, so I can pick on that feature. I can pick the feature here on the actual part itself, or click over here where it said revolve. The next thing I'm going to do is click on the mirror plane. So if you remember back on our mirror plane, we want this axis right here, the YZ plane. That's actually our mirror plane, and we're going to be using that to mirror this part. So if you look at that from the side, we're using that plane as a mirror point. So I'm going to hit the OK button, and there we go. We duplicated that part in just a matter of a few minutes there, and now this part is symmetrical and it is mirrored. And anything that's changed in this revolution right here would then be updated in the actual mirror itself.